Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we are discussing the 1985 feature film, Follow That Bird. But that's not all, because there are a couple other things happening in the summer of 1985, including a Kermit the Frog appearance on Reading Rainbow, and Big Bird appearing on the CBC show Midday to promote his upcoming starring role in a theatrical film. If you want to watch Follow That Bird, to, follow along with our discussion, you can find it for free, actually, on both YouTube and the Roku channel. There are ads, obviously, depending on what YouTube or Roku. I don't know if you can get ad-free Roku, but yeah, you can watch it for free. But before we get into that, Sam, you hear those jingle bells in the distance? It's Christmas time.
That's right.
How Christmassy have you gotten already? We're recording this a couple of days after Thanksgiving.
You know what? I feel like the world is a little bit more on my level of Christmassy this year. When we were listening to the radio, I've been hearing Christmas music pop up in regular rotation. I feel like I don't hear that as much on the stations I listen to, at least. There's just like, they're already slipping it in. It seems very early to me for a radio station to do it. And of course, like, another thing is that everybody on TikTok's obsessed with those birds from Target, the Christmas birds.
We got a couple of those birds.
About? So those, I feel like, have really spread the Christmas cheer a bit.
People are obsessed with them?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a lot of TikToks about it. And when I went to Target a few weeks ago, accidentally, just on the first day they had put out their Christmas stuff. It was insane. There was people, Rachel was like, oh, get some of those birds. So I was like sending her pictures and I'd like turn around and then turn back around and all the birds would be gone of the one I was looking at. But we haven't decorated our house yet, but we'll probably decorate today, is my guess, inside at least. We kind of missed our window to decorate outside too much because it's freaking freezing now.
It's so cold this morning.
We might give it a shot.
Have you watched any Christmassy things yet?
No, I haven't watched Christmassy things yet. That we usually watch a bunch of stuff while we decorate. So
right.
I might watch it. I know you have. I've seen you. You watched
You're on to me.
Christmas Carol. Yeah. I'm an avid follower of your Instagram, and also
as everyone should be.
My mom is too. So I think she was at my house this weekend. She was like, "Oh, Matt's watching Muppet Christmas Carol." So I get the full update about you from my mom too. Have you ever met my mom?
I still have never met your mom, my number one fan.
My mom knows everything about you.
Oh, I feel like maybe she can be on the podcast one time instead of you.
She could be a guest. Yeah, because I kind of like that idea because she was a big Muppet fan, so that would work, I think.
My mom, as far as I know, has never mentioned anything about liking the Muppets, so I don't think she would be a good guest. Sorry, Mom.
She actively hates the Muppets, and so when you were a teen, that was how you lashed out.
That's how I rebelled. She sees what I'm doing now. She thinks I'm a massive failure. She's like, I can't believe you've sunken so low as to do a Muppet podcast. It's the one thing you knew would make me angry. But yeah, no, we are fully decorated inside. Wow. Nothing outside yet. We have a trip coming up, so we're gonna wait until we get back from that. But yes, we did the same thing where when we start decorating inside, we start watching stuff. So Thanksgiving evening, we it starts popping off around here. We watched Hannah Waddingham's new Christmas special on Apple TV Plus.
Who's that?
She's the boss from Ted Lasso.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she has a whole singing, dancing Christmas special out on Apple TV Plus. That's very fun. And then while we put up our tree, we watched Muppet Christmas Carol. We watched part of the holiday. We had the Great Santa Claus switch on while we were doing some stuff. It's been a very, very Christmassy few days here.
I missed Halloween because I was sick. I had COVID. I only got to celebrate like the last week of October, basically.
Yeah.
So, or like the last few days even. So I got to double it up for Christmas.
I always feel like if you asked me like favorite holidays, I feel like I would say Halloween and Christmas aren't that distant in my rankings from each other.
Yeah.
I have a much easier time just kind of celebrating Halloween. But Christmas is like mandatory, must watch all the movies, must decorate, must put up the tree. So I'm realizing this year that Christmas is at the top of the list with a large gulf between Christmas and Halloween.
Christmas is so fun because everybody celebrates it. And Halloween,
Well,
I feel like
historically,
is more...
not true.
Okay. Christmas is so fun because you can hear Christmas songs on the radio.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll hear Monster Mash on the radio one time, but otherwise, I mostly celebrate Halloween. It's personal, you know? It's my own personal beliefs. And we like decorate our house a ton. I think it's more even for me, but Christmas is much more like there's Christmas party, like a work Christmas party. Like people really come together on Christmas. On Halloween, it's a little bit more.
Right. Like, there's no work Halloween party.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And you can come to work in a costume, and that's fine, and people like that.
It's harder when you work remotely because you never know until you turn up for that Zoom call if you're going to be the only person in a costume. I think what happens with Halloween is I stress myself out more because I turn my costume into a job. Either it's like I'm spending 6 months carving out Big Bird feet, or I get stressed because I haven't thought of a good costume, and then I end up buying like a store-bought one, and I feel disappointed in myself. So it's like I think like Halloween, I think I really enjoy when I find that sweet spot of like a good costume that doesn't take over my entire life.
A good, easy costume, for sure. This year, I was too sick to do a costume. I usually do a great costume. And everybody was like, where's your costume? And I didn't want to be like, hey, COVID, leave me alone. But that was the case. Which is to say, you can bust your ass on a great costume for a decade. And the one time you don't do it, everybody else will be in costume and say, where's your costume? So you can never stop.
Well, I just had a store-bought Coach Beard costume, so I had no room to judge you, Sam. And to be fair, I didn't even clock that you weren't wearing a costume.
Also, to be fair to you, you looked exactly like Coach Beard. Like, your head is a store-bought Coach Beard Halloween mask. So
yeah, I did have quite the beard going.
Especially
at the time.
when you have sunglasses on. You just
that was
really pull it
because
out.
that was a Ted Lasso costume that I bought, and I was like, okay, I have the beard. That's one step closer to Coach Beard. All I need is sunglasses and a different hat. Boom. Very easy costume for me.
And you did it.
But Halloween is behind us, Sam, and it's the season of watching Christmas specials. I also, while we were decorating, I put on 2 different Jimmy Dean holiday specials that are full-length ones on YouTube. I found a Thanksgiving one, which was very good, and then a Christmas one, which was a little less good. But put those on the TV in the background. So we've had plenty of Muppet Christmas already. I'm waiting on Muppet Family Christmas. That's going to be like a special set-aside evening.
Yeah, that's fair. That I do the same. I don't burn that one right away either.
Great Santa Claus Switch got put on in the background. I wasn't entirely focused on that one the whole time, but it holds up. It's good. I'm glad that we watched that one, and I hope more people watch it this year because
I wish there could be like a higher def version of it.
Yeah, the audio is quite awful on that one, especially the best copy on YouTube. Like, I had to do the thing where you turn like speech enhancement on your TV and like crank the volume way up, and it's still there's some lines of dialogue I have no idea what they're saying.
It's a hard sell to sit down with your family and be like, look at this great Muppet special. And then it's like,
yeah, some of the copies of Muppet Family Christmas are a bit like that, where you're just like, I swear this is funny. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Squint really hard. It's worth it because this part has 30 extra seconds that weren't cut out of it.
This one has Elmo putting an ornament on the tree. The other one doesn't. I didn't sit through skimming through 22 different versions of this special for you to sit there and not enjoy Elmo putting an ornament on the Christmas tree. Well, it's not quite Christmas yet, and we have some very non-Christmassy things to discuss today. So, Sam, how about you tell the people what we watched this week?
First, we watched an appearance of Big Bird on Midday, a CBC daytime news program. Big Bird and a bunch of kids come out, and the host asks Big Bird a lot of rapid-fire questions, And really nothing of note happened. I tried to write about this one like a bunch of times, but I was like, Big Bird's just like, yes, I am Big Bird. Thanks for the questions. Then we watched a segment of Reading Rainbow featuring Kermit the Frog, wherein some things of note definitely do happen. LeVar Burton is checking out the animal section of the library when he spots Kermit perusing the pig books. LeVar greets Kermit, who immediately gets very cagey about what he's doing in the pig section. While it's clear to LeVar and the viewer that Kermit is looking up tips for how to please pigs in the bedroom, he quickly comes up with a cover story that he's reading classics of pig literature and throws out some puns to try to throw LeVar off the scent. But LeVar knows, and he basically corners Kermit and asks some very pointed questions about he and Miss Piggy's relationship. And Kermit gets, I think, as close to coming clean about the whole thing as he probably ever has. He's like visibly sweating as much as a felt puppet can sweat. But alas, the segment ends before the truth comes out. Finally, we watched Follow That Bird. Big Bird isn't, well, I guess it's called Sesame Street Presents Follow That Bird.
Yeah, I think either are acceptable.
Big Bird is an orphan, that much is indisputable, and this fact has finally caught the attention of the Feathered Friends, an organization of birds dedicated to helping orphan birds find friends and family among their own kind. So they send one of their caseworkers, Miss Finch, to Sesame Street, where she finds Big Bird and tells him that she's arranged for him to go live with a foster family in Illinois. Though Big Bird loves his found family on Sesame Street, he agrees to go with her, kind of just to see what it's like. Unfortunately for him, his foster family, the Dodos, aren't just agonizingly stupid, but also emotionally withholding and forbid Big Bird from seeing his old pals or being friends with anyone except other birds. So Big Bird packs his things and decides to run away back to Sesame Street. His disappearance is immediately nationwide news, catching the attention not just of his friends on Sesame Street and Miss Finch, but also the Sleaze brothers, the villainous proprietors of a trashy carnival who see Big Bird as the sideshow act that can rocket them to fame and fortune. So everyone sets out to look for Big Bird, concluding with him in the clutches of the Sleaze brothers, painted blue and forced to perform very sad songs. He's found in short order by his Sesame Street pals who pull off a daring rescue and bring him home, where he confronts Miss Finch and tells her that, though they may not be birds, everyone on Sesame Street is his family, and that is where he wants to stay. Elsewhere in the world, Follow That Bird had some very prestigious competition at the movies, with Fletch, The Goonies, Back to the Future, Fright Night, and Pee-wee's Big Adventure all being released that same summer of 1985. Just to name a few, there's other lesser ones that were almost just as good.
Cocoon, Teen Wolf, Clue, The Color Purple, The Breakfast Club, Brazil.
Big year for
I
movies.
think there was also E.T. had a re-release that summer that did really
and
well.
Gremlins had a re-release too.
Yeah, so they very, very stiff competition.
That would have been a fun as hell year to go to the movies. And another notable pop culture event happened in summer of 85, the charity mega concert Live Aid, which happened on July 13th, which famously featured Queen in an iconic performance, but also had basically any musical act that you could name at the time, including Muppet friends Elton John and David Bowie. And I think probably some other Muppet friends I'm just forgetting about, but
it's worth noting, Jim was there.
He was?
Yes.
Was he at the London one or the U.S. one?
The London one, because they were filming Labyrinth, and Bowie
Yep.
had to pause to go do Live Aid, and so Jim went to the Live Aid concert at Wembley
Jim was
Stadium.
like, oh, come along too.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
The idea, that's the back, like the green room at Live Aid with Jim Henson hanging out. I want a camera to exist in that room and see him interacting with all those people who are much, much cooler than him.
No, you know what? I bet he's a really good listener, though. I bet he's very interested in what other people do. He probably asked a lot of great questions, and then he probably sat there with his big old legs crossed with his hand on his chin going, oh, wow.
Wow.
Thanks for talking to me, Dire
Freddie
Straits.
Mercury, you're pretty good at this. Well, elsewhere in Muppet World, as I mentioned already, Jim wrote in his journal on July 13th, recording Muppet Show on tour, Live Aid concert. So he had a big day.
Yeah, he did both of those things in a day.
Yeah, earlier in the day.
I think Live Aid started at like noon.
I mean, maybe he recorded it at Live Aid. They had like a side stage, like, hey, you want to use this microphone?
So all of Kermit's lines and Muppets on stage have just like,
It's like, wow, that's really going to get people hyped up.
yeah. All Kermit's lines are just screaming. Thousands and thousands of people screaming. He opens his mouth and countless voices pour out like some kind of like biblically accurate angel or something like that.
And Brian May's face melted off that day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, earlier in that day, Jim taped portions of the script for the Muppet Show Arena Tour. But then later in the day, went over to watch his friend Bowie perform in Live Aid.
Just a casual day for him.
Yeah, it notes in Jim's Red Book that a highlight was supposed to be a duet between Bowie in London and Mick Jagger in Philadelphia because they were doing all the things.
Yeah.
But technical difficulties made it impossible for them to perform live in real time, which fucking obviously.
Yeah. In 1985.
That'd still be nearly
it would
impossible
still be
to pull
hard.
off.
It would still suck. Yeah. So Jim got up on stage and did it instead.
Here's my Mick Jagger impression. Then on July 27th and 28th, Jim wrote in his journal, weekend meeting EFL at Brewery Muse. So a few explainers here. EFL stands for English as a Foreign Language. And Brewery Muse is the Henson offices in Hampstead, where he had his house. Okay. I don't know if that's the same, like the post office they bought for the puppet, like the creature shop, or if that's a different building nearby. Not entirely sure what or where Brewery Muse is. But this was them having a meeting to discuss making another international show in the vein of Fraggle Rock. But this one was primarily aimed at making a show for non-English speakers first, to help them learn English as a second language. And it seems like this is an idea that they were kicking around for a while of like, what's the best way to do this? And over several years, it's one of those where, did they do it? Yes, kind of. But they were going to make videos and books and this whole big program to make this a whole thing. And so this was their meetings to discuss that idea. And what ended up happening is, they got distracted in the rest of the 80s with Labyrinth, Storyteller, Jim Henson Presents, The Muppets, Celebration of 30 Years, Tail Bunny Picnic, Fraggle Rock, Christmas Toy, Muppet Babies, Puppet Man, Ghost of Fafner Hall, Jim Henson Hour, and The Witches. They had a lot going on. They turned this eventually into a drive-around vehicle called the Muppet Mobile.
It's always something crazy like that. It's like the first idea is so normal, and then by the end, it's like a car.
They're like, what if it's just a car? There is a photo of this on Jim's Red Book that I'm going to send to Sam now so you can see it.
Oh, that's great, though. I love that.
Yeah, and you'll notice in that picture there are two Muppets. There is a bird named Beak.
There's three Muppets, my friend.
Well, one of them is a two-headed horse-type animal.
Oh, that doesn't... Yeah.
It's like
There's four Muppets, Matt. I'm seeing four. I'm seeing five.
There is more. There's like a cat in the window. There's a little weird, cool dude next to Jim.
Yeah.
And
then a lady in the other window.
Yeah, those ones are not noted. The only ones that are mentioned on Jim's Red Book are the bird to the left of that image, which is named Beak, which, come on.
Yeah.
And then the two-headed horse, which was apparently called Yes No, or much better name, Michael Frith noted, Yay Nay.
That's a great name for a two-headed horse.
Yeah. So the plan was that they were going to journey around teaching about culture and language, and development on this continued after Jim's passing. But by 1991, the project had been narrowed down to 65 2-minute shows for transmission in Japan. And so they made a bunch of like just little short things only for Japan, it seems. So this really got whittled down from a huge concept down into this like, yeah, we're going to drive around a little bit and we're going to send some videos to Japan.
What? So it was like video shot with these characters.
I believe
and
so.
This RV perhaps, or what, this trailer?
I believe that is the
case.
It's
a car. This thing rules.
So yeah, I'm not sure if those videos are out there somewhere to watch or, what they really became. But this was something they were trying out in the summer of 1985. But that brings us to what we did watch this week. And first up, we have the July 1985 appearance of Big Bird on Midday for the CBC. It's an interesting interview. It starts off kind of jokey, like with the what's it like to be famous question. Big Bird jokes about like, yeah, I walk on the street, and even when I wear glasses, people still recognize me. And I'm like, all right, that's a pretty typical thing. But it takes a pivot pretty early on where you realize that, like, this man is maybe one of the best people to interact with Muppets ever.
What, you think so?
He is treating Big Bird as the most real, like, character.
He's almost treating him like the Pope or something. He's being so deferential. And the way he's asking his questions is just like, I've been told I'm only allowed to ask these pre-prepared questions. I can have no follow-up banter at all. I must get through these questions.
Well, and at first, we've talked about previously in the past, we're like, does this guy know this is a puppet? Or does he think this character is real?
Yeah.
Because we've had interviews like that where I'm like, whoa, calm down, dude. That's a piece of fleece stretched over Jim Henson's hand. You can see that, right? Whereas this is like, at first I was like, this is kind of an interesting energy that he's bringing to this. But then realizing that there's a bunch of like 4-year-olds all around him.
Yeah.
He is not going to pull back the veil at all on Big Bird being a puppet or a character or Carol Spinney sitting there in a chair across from him. He is going to treat Big Bird as Big Bird is real. And I'm guessing this show is not typically for children. And so he's asking interview questions as he would of any other guests.
I suppose from that point of view, it makes sense. I thought it was like I thought he treats him very deferentially, but he's kind of stiff in a weird way. I think just the way he was asking questions was bothering me. And like,
there's definitely a list of things that they also clearly talked about the responses. And there's a lack of follow-up to some questions.
The lack of follow-up, yeah. I think that's what I'm used to with Muppet things, where it's like,
it's more conversational.
They're always a little quippy, and then the host is like, ha ha ha, you scamp. But that didn't happen this time.
No, but they do touch on a couple interesting topics. They talk about how there's not enough movies for 6-year-olds, people Big Bird's age out there. And Big Bird drops the knowledge here that he was too scared of E.T., so he didn't like it.
He didn't think it was very good.
Yeah, Big Bird didn't like E.T.
That's a strong stance on E.T.
Wrong side of history there, Big Bird.
It is scary, though. He's not wrong about that. Did they ever meet E.T.? Did anybody ever meet E.T.? Did he ever go on talk shows? And why not?
Why would he?
Because Alf did, They all did.
You can't compare
He's a
Alf and
puppet.
E.T.
They could have got a satellite feed in of E.T., He wouldn't have to be in the studio. I guess I'm just surprised that he didn't end up walking around on the, with that old guy. Here's Johnny,
But there is, again, a couple interesting moments in this interview where they ask him about Snuffy and about, like, okay, is Snuffy real or fake? And Big Bird gets really frustrated, not at the interviewer, but at the idea that adults just never are around when Snuffy is. They always find somewhere to conveniently be away. But he does mention that, like, he thinks pretty soon people will start to see Snuffy.
I kind of thought this movie would have been a good opportunity to reveal
It
Snuffy.
does seem like it.
Yeah. Like at the end, he'd just open the door and come out, and everybody would be like, whoa! And the movie would end there.
Yeah, I guess maybe you don't want to do the Star Wars Marvel thing of like putting too much of your canon into a thing that not everyone maybe is going to see.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, it is interesting that this was obviously being filmed before the previous season of Sesame Street went out. So even the season where like Maria and some other people start to believe in Snuffy hadn't aired yet when they started writing and producing this movie. So they're right on that cusp right now. But it is...
But they don't harp on him being imaginary, really, I don't think.
No, they were. I have some notes about the original script idea that was originally like going to be what was going to be going on in this movie that ended up not happening. And part of it definitely hinged more on the idea of Snuffy still being imaginary. So maybe they chose to cut back on that a little bit because they knew what their plan was. But the interviewer also asked some questions that apparently were submitted by children. I don't know if they're the ones in the room or just random Canadian children. But asks, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Big Bird says, a brain surgeon or a pilot, but I haven't decided yet.
Don't let this guy be either of those things.
Well, and that's the one where I was like, really? No follow-up whatsoever, huh?
I don't think your hands are much too large and clumsy, I think, to be a brain surgeon. And Imagine Big Bird sawing somebody's skull open. Come on. Oh, and you get feathers like on your brain.
Blah.
Just leave a feather behind. And he'd just crash the plane if he was a pilot.
Well, again, we're also thinking about 6-year-old Big Bird. Like, theoretically, we're talking about a 40-year-old Big Bird here and what he would
That's
be
a
up
troubling
to.
thought too. I don't want to think about him growing up. Would he get even bigger?
Oh, is this baby size?
Is this his juvenile form?
Oh, he's going to turn into a
I
full
think he could
kaiju
be.
and attack Sesame Street.
Kaiju-sized guy. Then you really can't fly a plane.
Thankfully, that world has never been explored.
Yeah, he's stuck in an eternal childhood, watching the world turn to dust around him. Phew.
Big Bird's in hell, but we all sleep peacefully at night, knowing that
Yeah.
he is thankfully stuck.
Big Bird's in hell so that we won't be in hell.
Correct.
That's what it is.
But then the other TV appearance we watched was from July 5th, 1985, of Kermit appearing on Reading Rainbow. Kermit, who we haven't seen a ton of lately. We don't talk about Kermit that much anymore.
I was weirdly excited to see him.
It was very nice to see him. And I'm guessing this was maybe from a pig-themed episode, or at least pigs were previously mentioned, because the first thing we get to see on this clip is LeVar Burton saying, if you want to learn more about pigs, you know where to go, right? Let's check out the animal section of this library. So
yeah, I would hope so, I guess.
Yeah, if that was an out-of-context line, I'd be like, okay, sure. I'm not thinking about pigs currently, but I guess I don't know a lot about them either, so let's go. This library has some wild sections to it. There's a row for aardvarks, a row for chickens, a row for hedgehogs, and a row for pigs.
Just a full-on row with books and books. And I love how he's like, this library certainly is thorough.
But it's not, though, LeVar.
It does skip a lot of letters.
It skips a lot of animals. There's no cows. There's no dogs.
Yeah.
There's no horses. It skips some pretty big animals who probably deserve, no offense, more books than hedgehogs. But as you mentioned, LeVar does catch Kermit in the pig section. Kermit seems very embarrassed.
He catches him in the porno section of a movie rental place.
Yeah, he pushed back a beaded curtain, and Kermit's like,
Ooh,
LeVar!
I'm doing research.
But Kermit says he's there to catch up on some great classics of pig literature.
After saying that he's not Kermit the Frog, he's Angelo, the small green human being, which is also pretty good.
Yeah, he tries to cover it up. Doesn't
Angelo
work.
is a great name to jump to.
Yeah, I feel like Jim is like top form in this bit.
This is great.
I don't know who wrote this, if it was Reading Rainbow people, if it's Muppet people, who's in charge of these sketches, but Kermit is very, very good in this bit.
And he really is acting like he's looking at something he's not supposed to be. Like, I feel like I'm not overstating it too much. For the subtext to be, I need to look up the genitals of pigs or something, you know?
I mean, I'm going to push you back a little bit and say that I don't think the subtext of a Reading Rainbow sketch would be Kermit trying to figure out how to sexually satisfy Miss Piggy.
Or he's looking at naked pigs because those pigs don't wear clothes and Miss Piggy's always wearing clothes. It's very frustrating.
I read it as Kermit never admits that him and Miss Piggy are a thing. He never wants to be seen as attached to her or that he has any interest in her at all, really. It's strictly professional.
Okay.
And so he is here wanting to learn more about pigs, which inherently shows that he has an interest in Miss Piggy.
Yes, he's trying to learn more about her.
Right.
Because he's trying to be a nice guy, a good partner.
Yes. If I was looking for like a book that's like human relationships for dummies, for me, that's the same thing he's doing here. He's not specifically looking for bedroom tips. He is looking for just how to better understand. I think they say at one time how to pamper your pig. So I think the idea is that he is maybe embarrassed to be caught showing
how to pamper your pig. That felt like where they were showing their hand a little bit to me.
Pampering is not sex, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy that there's a sexual undertone to this.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna disagree with you there, but also sure, he's caught dead to rights caring about pigs, which could be equally as embarrassing to him.
Yeah, like he has to admit that he is showing interest in his free time in Miss Piggy.
Sure, but if LeVar had looked over what the book that Kermit was looking at was. He would have said, "That's quite an interesting diagram you're checking out there, Kermit."
Really, it's just a butcher book.
Oh no!
It's like this is the best I can find.
I guess you study anatomy books to learn more about people, so sure.
But they talk through some pig classics like Frankenswine, Bore in Peace.
I did kind of like. It wasn't an intentional callback, but like sort of the continuing thing of like pigs have their own society going on, like parallel to human society.
Yes.
They seem to have developed in exactly the same way as us, except they're all pigs.
Well, and it's interesting for Reading Rainbow to talk about fictional books.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Here's the importance of reading.
More confusing.
Here are parody books that you'll never be able to read.
I would like to check out Frankenswine, please. You say at your grade school library.
We've got Banicula. You want that one?
Actually, that's pretty close. I wouldn't be surprised if there were a character named Frankenswine in the Banicula series of books, actually.
And they also call it one of the greatest pig plays, Hamlet. And they return to a joke that they have said before, I believe, on The Muppet Show. Where LeVar's like, "It's by Shakespeare, right?" And he's like, "Some people say it was Bacon."
That's such a clever joke for Reading Rainbow.
Yeah, and that's one of the moments where like the layers of leading up to that of like you have all these puns and then it's like, "Oh, Hamlet, huh? Yeah, it was by Shakespeare." And you don't feel like there's another joke coming at that point. And so they catch you off guard with the very relevant Bacon joke.
I didn't know that theory had been around that long.
Yeah.
That he didn't write his play.
I mean, he's been around a while, so I assume that theory started pretty early after he was around.
I honestly couldn't tell you what year Shakespeare was in.
I want you to give me a guess. And you can give me like a span of time. Like you can give me a couple decades, maybe 50 years. I want you to tell me when you think Shakespeare, I guess, lived, died, wrote.
Was it the 1500s?
I mean, technically, yes.
Okay. Was it... Well, then it doesn't matter. All those hundreds of year spans were the same the whole time. Was it the late 1500s, like the 1550 through 1600?
You almost spot on,
Okay,
Sam.
great.
Look at you go. Yeah, Shakespeare was born in 1564, died 1616. So, boom.
Okay.
You were just about spot on. I think some of those dates are, not necessarily 100% known, but yes, I think.
So is Shakespeare's birth certificate somewhere?
I don't think so because I think his birthday is one of the things that's disputed.
Okay,
But I could be talking out of my ass, and my wife is literally has a master's degree in Shakespeare and theater, and I could ask her, but this is a Muppet podcast, so we're just going to keep talking out our asses. But LeVar starts asking and grilling Kermit about the relationship between him and Miss Piggy. And Kermit gets pretty close to just saying they're an item.
He's completely off balance in this one. He has been caught off guard. And he's probably the most vulnerable I think I've ever seen Kermit. Except for like when he's really mad. I feel like this is the most emotionally vulnerable and like blah 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 I don't know kind of that I've ever seen him. He's not in control of the situation.
Right, because usually he can quip back and be like, "How's your sex life, LeVar? Like, you want to ask me these personal questions?"
Maybe you have sex with pigs.
But yeah, no, you're right. I think like outside of like his movie appearances, this is the most stressed out, freaked out Kermit we've seen.
Yeah, and this does feel like proof positive of a relationship, which they're in a relationship by the time Muppet Family Christmas rolls around. Like that is, it's kind of out in the open at that point. Yes,
they are definitely. And again, we've seen so many examples of times that they're very clearly in a relationship and just don't want to admit it. But
right.
Very rarely is it a thing that throws Kermit off this much. The only other appearance that happened during this time that I could find in the record, but not in video form, is that Big Bird also appeared on the Today Show on July 24th to promote the upcoming Follow That Bird. But as far as I know, it's not out there.
I was wondering why. There seems like there should have been a lot of appearances for this.
Yeah, you could have had all, do another Dick Cavett Sesame Street special where all the Muppets are around. But it does seem like a surprising lack of promotion for the first Sesame Street theatrical movie.
Right. And a movie that I think turned out pretty good. Like, I'd be pretty excited to promote this movie.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. And maybe they were just, I don't know, like, I feel like you see the roster of films that's coming out in summer of 1985 and you go, oh, shit, we got to
Back to the Future is about to stomp all over us. So what's the point in even advertising?
Yeah.
Or I guess it was already out by this point, so they probably already saw that. Ugh.
Yeah, but I think this came out the week before Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which ate its lunch at the box office.
Really weird because they're like the same movie.
They do
too.
have a very similar vibe to them.
It was like Pee-wee and Big Bird walked past each other when they were hitchhiking, probably on the outskirts of California.
Well, getting into it now, we are here to talk about Follow That Bird, which debuted in theaters on August 2nd, 1985, directed by Ken Kwapis. Apparently, John Landis was first asked to direct this film, but he couldn't do it. He had another film he was working on. So
it does say that he wanted to do it.
Yeah,
though.
he was
Like,
directing Into the Night,
interested in
though,
doing it.
so he had to do that one. I guess schedules just didn't align. So Amy Pascal, who at the time I think was working lower than she does now at Sony, at Warner Brothers, Ken Kwapis has said in an interview on Tough Pigs that she was the one who recommended him for the job.
He's an interesting choice, too. I mean, I guess not at the time. He hadn't
Not at the
directed
time.
Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants yet.
Well,
but
and he also went on to direct The Larry Sanders Show, Dunstan Checks In, episodes of Freaks and
yeah.
Geeks, The Office, Parks and Rec,
interesting.
Santa Clarita Diet, Space Force. Like, this man is a comedy director through
Bless
and
him.
through.
Sure.
But this movie was also written by Tony Geiss and Judy Freudberg, who I think we mentioned before because Tony Geiss, at least, worked on Don't Eat the Pictures. And he was previously a writer for Dick Cavett. But these two wrote a ton on Sesame Street, and they both worked on The Land Before Time and An American Tail. And the music for this was done by Van Dyke Parks and Lenny Niehaus. Van Dyke Parks, notably, composed some other soundtracks, including The Brave Little Toaster and Popeye. But yeah, Sam, I'm going to ask right away, what'd you think of this here movie?
I loved this movie.
Ooh.
I think it was like a proto Pee-wee's Big Adventure in that I think it was close to, if it had just been a little snappier. Like if John Landis had directed it, I think it would be held in similar esteem to a lot of the movies that came out around the same time, and like road movies like this and the Muppet movie. There's just like, it's just a little too boring, I think, probably by design, because it's for babies.
It is aimed at preschoolers, which is an interesting conundrum to overcome. Of a theatrical film directed at preschoolers isn't a very common occurrence.
I think it does a good job of being entertaining. Like if I was a parent and I took my kid to see this, I wouldn't be like, oh, that was so stupid.
No.
I'd be like, that movie looked great. And it was so fun to see. I feel like it showed us a Sesame Street. That's the kind of Sesame Street that we like joke about, where it is complete chaos and it looks like a horrible place to live. But it's also, the set is so beautiful. I love that, the Sesame Street set. But there's also just like monsters running around basically like they are vermin, like knocking over trash cans and like screaming out of every window. And it just felt like such a fun, like somebody was just like, what would it really be like if Sesame Street was real? And then they made that come true. So those parts I thought, I loved seeing Sesame Street. And then I loved that they just like all went out in their wacky little cars and drove around. It was just like, I don't know. It was like the funnest version of a Sesame Street movie you could make, I feel like.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I don't know if I would go as far as to say I loved it, because I think a lot of the things you're pointing out are issues that sat with me throughout, where I'm just like, oh, yeah, I feel like it's weird that didn't come back. Or I feel like, oh, it's been too long since we've seen this person, so the threat doesn't feel real. Or, oh, we're just starting this plot line with 20 minutes left of the movie. What's happening?
Yeah,
and so
there's a lot of stuff in the middle where nothing happens.
And not stuff that I dislike by any means. I really like it. I think it's just... it's not quite as interesting or as well paced as previous Muppet movies we've watched. Right. And I almost wish it was a little bit longer so that they could have maybe fleshed out some of that stuff or rearranged some things I don't know. We'll talk about it as we go through. But
yeah. But you really don't want to show Big Bird being tortured in an evil carnival for too long.
That's a very good point. I guess you want to hold off the saddest part of any movie that came out in the 80s for as late as you can in the film. But I did watch a video about the original ideas for the script, basically the first draft of the script, which we all know changes a lot, but there's some interesting things in there. The Grouch anthem was not there at the beginning of the film in the original draft. There would have been a second goodbye scene where everyone took Big Bird to the airport, and Forgetful Jones would have had a line at the airport.
Oh, no. Did they film it and it was cut?
It seemed like it was just in the script.
Okay.
There was going to be even more clumsy behavior from the dodos that we would have seen, including
I had enough of them.
yeah,
I think.
Daddy Dodo would have driven through the door of the garage, and I think at one point, which she might be seen doing this in the movie, the mommy Dodo was sewing or knitting socks, but she was knitting the two pairs together. So it was really just gonna be like, hey, they're really fucking dumb.
They're stupid. I like that. I mean, I think it's interesting, I guess, more that they didn't have any kind of like, they weren't redeemed in any way. They were just horrible.
It's like, no, they suck. Say goodbye to them, though, because we're not going to see them again.
Big Bird was right to run away and endanger his life because these people were horrible.
Which I think is an important part because you don't necessarily want kids to look and go, oh, birds. Yeah, like, you don't want them to fall for the message of like, yeah, birds should be together because
that's true.
When you see, cows, chickens, whatever like that in lots of kids media, it's like, oh yeah, there's lots of cows at the farm, there's chickens hanging out. It's like, so the idea of a bird living with other birds is not a huge weird stretch. Other things notable about the first version of the script is that they specifically wrote in celebrity cameos that they were hoping for. Unlike in the Muppet movies, typically they will say celebrity cameo waiter kind of thing. They won't say who the celebrity that they want is.
Oh, they called their shots. Though.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Some paid off, some didn't. So Chevy Chase is listed as the newscaster in the film. They wanted that one. For the Sleaze brothers, they wrote down Danny DeVito and Bill Murray.
Oh, wow.
Which would have been amazing.
Bill Murray is a big swing. That would have been great. I'm perfectly happy that we got Dave Thomas and Count Floyd. But,
well, Joe Flaherty is maybe his name.
I don't think he wants it to be. I think he'd rather be Count Floyd.
Would you like to expand on that
great.
So people know what the hell you're talking about?
Yeah. Well, he's on SCTV, and Count Floyd was a character he played not just in that, but he was like a loser horror host, late night movie host who dressed like Dracula and would howl and make bad puns. And then he was on the Ed Grimley show. Remember the Ed Grimley show?
Yeah.
I love it. I love Ed Grimley.
Also, just realizing he went on to be the dad on Freaks and Geeks, so he would have been directed by the same guy.
And he dresses like Count Floyd in one of the episodes. He dresses like a Dracula, but he is very clearly supposed to be a Count Floyd type of Dracula.
He's also, you've seen this man on everything. He is in everything. But he's also the guy in Happy Gilmore who just consistently goes, "You jackass!" But yeah, other ones listed in here. Waylon Jennings' part as the truck driver was suggested to be Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers, Willie Nelson, or Cher.
Okay.
One of these
Cher,
things is not like the other.
I feel like she wouldn't really work as a turkey farmer, but okay.
It would be funny.
It would be funny. Yeah, that's right.
Another one they wrote down was the idea that at the Sleaze Brothers Carnival, there was going to be a scene where they were selling tickets for a man eating fish. And it was going to be just you walk in and there's a man standing there eating fish.
That's great. I did wish there was more of the Nasty Carnival because there's some funny parts during the Nasty Carnival.
Well, and the idea for who the man eating fish would be was Lou Ferrigno.
What? That feels like one where you could say, Lou, you want to come eat a fish? And he'd say, Mark, I would love to.
Yeah. Oh, it's for a movie, by the way, not just in your regular life. He's like, whatever. I don't mind.
We will pay you to eat a fish. Okay, more perverts. Great.
In the end of the movie, the biggest difference is that they were going to have,
Big Bird was going to die. He'd miss the car at the end.
No, they were going to have scattered throughout the film, they were going to have more Kermit segments of him reporting updates on if Big Bird's been found. At one point, he was going to be in a jungle and there was going to be some animals encroaching on him. He's going to be under more threat throughout the movie.
Okay.
And then at the end...
A little Kermit B plot.
Yes, exactly. Which makes sense to cut. But at the very end, they were going to be all celebrating Big Bird's return to Sesame Street, all this stuff. But then they were going to like pan over to a TV and Kermit was going to be on the space shuttle because he had heard Big Bird was in space now. And so he's like, I'm going to go find him. He's in space. And then as they're like counting down like 10, 9, 8, somebody goes, he's back. They found him. He's on Sesame Street. He's like, he's back. Get me off this thing. And then it launches and he's taken away to space.
And Kermit's in space. That's weird.
Yeah, very strange.
It would have been nice to see more Kermit. I do feel like that could have been a good... You know what? There's like... we'll talk about it later. There's one part of this movie where I'm like, this is magic. There's no way this could have happened. But I will tell you when we get there.
I do agree that I wish there was a little bit more Kermit, notably because this is the last time Jim will perform Kermit in a theatrical movie.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah. But the film opens with the American flag and tells the audience to rise for the Grouch anthem. Sam, why is this here?
I think to make the movie the right runtime, maybe. But I'm glad it's there. But
Yeah.
it does seem to imply a world where all movies start with the national anthem.
Right, like it's not a homage to anything as far as I know. It's not a parody of...
It's almost like Patton, but it's not really like Patton.
No.
He's just in front of a big American flag.
Right.
He's not making a speech or anything. No, I have no idea. I'm happy it's there. It's a great theme song almost for Oscar and Grouchers in general, and whining and complaining, and it was a fun song, but I don't know why it's there. To make the runtime the right.
I guess.
believe.
One of the things I had watched in looking for some behind-the-scenes information on this speculated that it might be because they wanted the kids to see a familiar face right off the bat, as opposed to opening up on the boardroom.
On the bird panel.
Which is like originally how the initial script opened up, was just the Feathered Friends board meeting. And so kids might be like, who the hell are these guys?
I'm in the wrong movie.
Yeah.
Let me out of here. We're supposed to be seeing the these are some other bird puppets. There's 2 movies with bird puppets out right now, and this is the wrong one. Yeah, it could be, or they wrote this song and then they couldn't figure out a way to put it in, but they were like, we love this song. We got to put it in.
But then we get a very brief animated opening where they show that this movie is brought to you by the letters W and B, because it's a Warner Brothers picture.
It's such a nasty, like, now when I see that, I'm just like, you know? Because they took this movie off of HBO Plus, right?
Yeah, it was on Max.
So fuck them.
It is no longer on Max. It is only on YouTube and Roku as of right now if you want to watch it. Well, speaking of boardrooms full of terrible people, we open up on the Feathered Friends, whose purpose it is to play stray birds with nice bird families. And there's been a sad, sad case discovered of a 6-year-old who lives with no other birds around.
He's got like a file with stuff written in it, and one of the things says like, lives in trash he found in a dump or something like that. Like lives in an alley with things he scavenged from the dump or something like that. Which is true. It's an unvarnished, really like, this is Big Bird is an orphan who lives in an alley in trash. It's true.
Yeah, to the outside observer, it maybe doesn't look great. But yeah, there was a troubling undercurrent here at first, which kind of goes away. Again, a lot of these things sort of like are seeded in this movie and don't really go or aren't brought up enough to become the main point. But they talk a lot about like he should be with his own kind. Really here, the job of the Feathered Friends is birds must live with birds.
Yeah. I mean, they do have some challenging beliefs for sure.
Oh, yeah. And they don't get explored too much, which makes a lot of sense. I don't think you want to dig too deep into that in a movie made for 6-year-olds.
You dig into the like inclusivity part of it, but not so much into the we are a birds' rights activist group.
Yeah.
We'll go to any ends to get this bird with other birds,
Yeah.
which would be bad, I suppose. Miss Finch could have been a lot darker of a character.
Yeah, and I think one of my biggest issues with the movie is that Miss Finch is not as big of a threat as I feel like she should be throughout the film.
Yeah.
She disappears for long sections of it that I kind of forget that like she even is a threat. And really the movie breaks down to, oh, okay, so this is really just about Big Bird not knowing how to walk home. Like there's not a lot of danger really happening throughout.
Okay, I guess that's fair.
Like he meets multiple people in this movie that if he had just said, I'm trying to get to Sesame Street, oh, by the way, that's in New York, they'd go, oh, that way. But he every time just says he's trying to get to Sesame Street, and they go, well, I don't know where the hell that is, so I'll drive you as far as I can in this direction.
Waylon Jennings should have asked him some more questions before dropping him off at a crossroads. There's a 75% chance he's wrong, whichever one he picks. Including, I guess he could just go backwards. He's so dumb, he'd just walk down the way he came.
Well, yeah, we don't even know what direction he was headed in when Waylon Jennings picked him up. Like, we have no idea if he's just headed in the completely wrong direction. It just, those things were the little ones where I was like, okay, I understand this is a movie aimed at younger children, but there are times when if just one extra line of dialogue would have solved the entire problem of the film.
I guess that didn't actually bother me because I kind of like movies where the stakes are so low but treated so high that it loops back around to being ridiculous.
Yeah.
And also he's like on the news and people are reporting about how he ran away.
Well, we get to Sesame Street, and it's rebuilt and looking snazzy. Because they filmed this whole movie in Canada. So that they filmed a lot of it in just rural Ontario. But they obviously rebuilt the set. It looks great. I wish they could somehow reuse it
cool.
for the,
Me too.
for the actual show.
That they'd shipped it down and gotten that crane and been like, here's 80 Muppet monsters leaning out the window and tons of extras. So it looks like people actually live there. It was so cool.
And they have a little moment where Big Bird sees a little bird on a lamppost that he tries to have a conversation with. I don't honestly know how they're doing it.
Yeah.
Puppet-wise.
It must have been like maybe it's just like a composite shot where below the Sesame Street sign there was a guy and then there wasn't, but it looks
great because he's just on a lamppost and you see everything around him, and it like maybe he's a remote character because he's not very animated. He doesn't actually talk; he just makes bird noises.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, it could be. There's a scene in Muppet Christmas Carol where some pigeons are on an overhanging thing, and it looks impossible as well. But really, it's just a blue screen comp shot. So this could be that. But this is when Miss Finch shows up on Sesame Street. Everyone calls Big Bird Big throughout this, which I don't love for some reason. Like, I never thought about him having a first and last name until this movie.
That's a good point. Until Snuffy always calls him Bird.
Yeah, which people call me Gatos, so that's fine.
I suppose. Yeah, I suppose. It does seem a little familiar, overly familiar. Snuffy can do it. Nobody else should be doing it.
Anyone ever call you Schultz?
Ugh,
like in high school, like, hey, Schultz.
No. I don't think so. I think I had like a teacher, probably some teachers would call me that. But no. I'm a Sam. I'm more of a Sam than a Schultz, don't you think?
We can start it.
You're both a Matt. You're a Matthew, and a Gatos.
I got all three, baby. Triple threat.
For you. It all works for you. And whatever your middle name is, you're probably that too.
Don. Maybe we can get that started, though. Maybe we can be Welcome to Commitment, hosted by Schultz and Gatos.
I'm Schultz. Schultzy. I could be
Schultzy.
People, when my dad worked for the city, used to call him Schultzy. So that could be an option.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm relaxed enough to be Schultzy.
You don't give off a Schultzy vibe.
No, I think I'd have to be more of a party dude or bowling. I'd have to be bowling. Ooh. If I was bowling, you could call me. Whenever I'm bowling, I'm Schultzy.
Yeah, you get that engraved on a bowling ball that you purchase.
Schultzy, yeah. Okay, I kind of like that.
Back on Sesame Street, Miss Finch tries to convince Big Bird that he should go live in a big birdhouse with a bird family. And we see Big Bird's fantasy of this idea through cartoon.
Cute cartoons.
It's like a wonderfully animated, like, I feel like this is a thing that has gone away. But it happened in movies like, I feel like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids had this. And different movies, right. Grease had this, where a section of it is just a cartoon.
Lavishly, beautifully animated cartoon. It actually does happen a lot, I feel like, in things like Pixar movies, or I feel like in a lot of CG movies, there's always a part where it's 2D animated. You know what I mean? Right,
yeah.
Like a flashback or like the end credits even, that barely counts, but it still happens. And a lot of times when that happens, I'm like, I want a movie to look like that instead. But anyway, that's beside the point. That's my own axe to grind with CG movies.
Yeah, I just feel like a lot of movies had very good animated opening scenes or sequences back in the 80s that...
Yeah.
I don't know how you would do that nowadays necessarily, because like some serious movies had just a cartoon sequence that was never addressed or wasn't really even part of the plot.
Pink Panther, famously Pink Panther.
Yeah, confused everyone for years.
The whole character. Yeah, when you get to be like 10, you're like, that's a movie? And then you rent the movie and you say, the Pink Panther's not even in this movie?
Yeah, I thought this was like Roger Rabbit. Where's that panther? But in this wonderfully animated sequence, Big Bird imagines reading books, playing baseball, and getting tucked in at night. Notably, getting tucked in and kissed goodnight by a family. And he looks at this and goes, wow, that sounds great. Let's do that. And we saw once before, there's an episode of Sesame Street we watched where Madeline Kahn and Richard Hunt play like bird watchers. I think it was season 13, the season premiere of Sesame Street. And they come in to take Big Bird away to a different home. And they take him to like a bird sanctuary that he does not love because none of the houses are made for him.
They're too tiny.
But notably, written by Judy Freudberg and Tony Geiss, who wrote this movie.
Whoa. that's where they got the idea from themselves.
This is the one time that might be an accurate statement that we've said in this podcast. This is where they got the idea.
Mulling that episode over, yeah. They were like, we can make a movie about when he meets R2D2 and C3PO, or we can him getting adopted.
So Big Bird goes and tells Snuffy he's leaving, and tells Snuffy, hey, you can come visit Ocean View, Illinois sometime. But while I'm gone, do me a favor, watch the rest of my things. And we get a very sad Snuffy, almost in tears, as Big Bird prepares to leave him.
Yeah, they have a very believable on-screen friendship. There's just something about those two where they are emotionally dependent on each other in a big way.
Well, and this is something that in the original script was supposed to be a little bit different, where I think it is that Snuffy was going to take all the things out of Big Bird's nest and like with him back to his cave or whatever like that. And so he was going to just like take all the stuff to watch it. And Luis was supposed to like see that and go, oh no, Big Bird's stuff is all gone. And he was going to help like spruce up Big Bird's nest so that way if he came home, it was going to be nice again for him. Which is why Luis doesn't have anything to do in this version of the movie.
At all.
He has one line.
Right. It's also weird that Snuffy lives just in a big grassy field.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
I guess they didn't have money for another set of like, let's go to the Snuffy Cave or whatever. They just do have an open field where Snuffy seems to live.
With a mailbox just in the middle of a field.
But Big Bird packs up some goggles, flippers, rubber duck, ties, a beach ball, and a book about birds as he's getting ready to leave Sesame Street. And suddenly, all the people around him realize he's going to leave them. And we get very sad lines from Grover and the Count and another Sesame Street, residents.
It's cool and weird to see these guys who haven't been in street scenes in so long, or like who just don't pop up that much, hanging out on the Sesame Street. I love it.
Well, and I like that at the very beginning when we see the establishing shot of Sesame Street, you can see everyone doing things, just going about their life. You see Bert is up on the roof tending to pigeons, and there's like a whole like slew of new shops on Sesame Street that we've never seen before.
Yeah, music shop.
Yeah. It is worth noting, we said Luis barely has a part in this movie, but David is not present in this movie at all because he was barred from entering Canada due to a criminal record. So,
wow.
Yeah. So he could not actually even enter Canada to film the movie. But all of Big Bird's Sesame Street friends are understanding and say, if that's what you want to do, Big Bird, you're allowed to leave. Go for it. So we get Big Bird on the airplane with his bear Radar, who has his own seat and his own pair of headphones. And Big Bird is that annoying person on the plane who
I love this
at first is like, isn't flying wonderful? Makes me feel like a bird. And then starts going, la, 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 la. And the two girls in front of him get so pissed off.
That's the thing I really like. I feel like also this movie has a good handle on like when the characters exit Sesame Street, they are immediately all the most annoying people in the entire world, and the movie is not afraid of showing that. And it feels so much to me like it is in the world of the Muppet movie. Like this is the same universe too. And yeah, just to see him out in like that kind of more like a gritty, almost like 70s world.
Right.
Being so annoying.
Because none of the humans are like, is that a puppet? Like they're all just like, that's a big bird.
And he's driving me crazy.
Mm-hmm. So when they land at the airport, you hear the airport worker announce that CTW 1138 has landed, which is both a reference to the Children's Television Workshop and THX 1138.
Oh, I didn't catch the number part. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a number that George Lucas used for his film, but also has used in like every Star Wars thing that he made after that film. You'll hear the number 1138 somewhere in his movies. And the Dodo family is there to meet Big Bird at the airport, and they immediately rename him Big Dodo.
Immediately there's something wrong with them.
Oh, yeah, they are terrible in so many ways.
They're good puppets, but they are scary puppets, I think. Their beaks are troubling to me.
Yeah, and they don't quite have the mouth movement necessary to give us enough personality.
Yeah, their mouths do move very strangely. Like,
well, and the kids' mouths, I feel like barely
moving.
move at all. Yeah, the puppeteering, I think, is okay on the Dodos throughout this because like they are performed. The mom and dad are performed by Ma and Pa Gorg.
The Ma especially, I feel like, has a lot of personality packed into her movements. She does seem very like that dismissive kind of inattentive parent, like grown up that you run into.
Yeah, no, I think the Dodos serve their purpose quite well. We learn that they live in a giant regular house that's just up on a giant stilt like a Jetson house.
Yeah. They serve their purpose well, but then there is never a part at the end where they're like, and they're not so bad either.
No. They just let them be awful.
Yeah. Maybe they reminded me too much of the Doodlebugs. They had a Doodlebug vibe, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, I think so.
Bugs? Yeah.
I'm not going to look it up, but yeah, Doodlebugs. Twiddlebugs, Tweedlebugs, something like that. The Sesame Street bugs.
The little bugs Ernie likes.
The Twiddlebugs, not Doodlebugs.
Twiddlebugs. Okay.
I did look it up.
You couldn't help yourself.
I couldn't. I knew we were wrong. Back on Sesame Street, everyone is sad. Barkley's crying. He misses Big Bird. But Big Bird wrote a letter that's also very sad. He tells us all about the dodos and how terrible they are, all the dumb stuff they do.
And then there's a really sad part during this montage, too, where Big Bird is going to bed, and he goes like, good night. And then the dodos are like, ugh.
Yeah, cool, good night.
Yeah.
I think that's...
And then he's so like, and then Big Bird's like, all right, good night. Is like the most dismissive he's ever been.
Yeah, and it seems like that's if he was leaving Sesame Street for something, he wanted it to be for a family who loves him. Yeah. And that's not what he has gotten based on he didn't get a kiss goodnight. And he writes in his letter, I should be happy here. What's wrong with me?
Horrible. Heartbreaking.
Back on Sesame Street, we get Chevy Chase as a newscaster who gives the weather report saying it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Clearly a nod to Mr. Rogers there. And he's just, I think, on the Weekend Update set.
I think so, too. And I kind of loved that it's like, I don't know. It's such a fun leap of logic to be like, this is a universe where Weekend Update is real. And he's the real newsman.
And like at this point, too, he was done with SNL. He was off of SNL. He was making Fletch and like National Lampoons and stuff. So it's like a nice little callback to his days of SNL. But he reports on the runaway 6-foot-tall yellow bird who answers to the name Big Bird. And then he cuts to their correspondent, Kermit the Frog.
Hell yeah.
Who I...
Also excited to see him here, too.
Yeah, excited to see him. Didn't necessarily expect him, but I guess I should have. And Kermit reads the note that Big Bird left behind saying he's walking back to Sesame Street and says, it should only take 3 hours because it only took me 2 hours to fly here.
Idiot.
Bert and Ernie are watching this report, by the way, in their apartment, which is adorable because they have a big painting of themselves over their chairs.
Just like they do in the set. This was one of the things that just made me like, I can't be mad at this movie ever. Because the way the camera pans... Like, first of all, one cute thing is that Grover's working at Hooper's store.
But, like, they're just cleaning up and having a normal day about it.
Yeah, and then when they're watching the news, the camera pans over to where Bert and Ernie live, and it shows that they live in the basement of 123 Sesame. And then it shows, like, this realistic version of the set they're always on where they're, like, sitting in their chairs, just, like, having a nice, normal night with that big, crazy painting behind them.
Well, we actually see...
So good.
I believe what we don't normally see is their legs sitting in the chairs.
Yeah,
we normally see they're just
chair.
like upper halves and the upper half of a chair to believe that they are sitting in chairs. And then we get to see
Count's insane house, his castle, with his TV that has huge like demon wings on it.
Yeah, he has like an Addams Family TV that I feel like would just crawl away after he's done watching for the night. But it's spiky, it has legs, it's purple. It's amazing.
A satanic TV, and that's when I wrote this movie rules.
Well, and then we also get 2 random guys watching this news report.
And I thought they were the guys who, you know how there's like always the comedy duo on Sesame Street, like the dummies.
Oh,
who,
the
like,
very early season,
yeah. Yeah, that's like maybe Dave Thomas and Joe Flaherty are them right now, and that's who these are supposed to be. And I looked up, I was like, oh, no, they're gone for so long that it's confusing.
Yeah, the Sleaze Brothers and Miss Finch both are the threats in this movie. And I think, neither of them are around enough to really feel like a threat, but also the Sleaze Brothers don't do anything really until like the last half hour of the movie. That's maybe the biggest complaint I would have is that this movie has a lot of passive things just kind of happening without a goal. Like no one is really, they're not actively really trying hard to find Big Bird. They're just kind of hoping they run into him. But Miss Finch vows to bring Big Bird back to the dodos as she's talking to Kermit on the news report. So this is when everyone obviously realizes like, oh shit, Big Bird's in trouble. He ran away from home. We see Bob prepping a map to figure out Big Bird's route of how he's going to get from Ocean View, Illinois, back to Sesame Street. Bob assuming that there's only like 3 highways, so Big Bird would obviously take one of them.
He'd have to be walking. Yeah, that is a big assumption that Big Bird would be walking anywhere logical, but
So they
sure.
divide into some random groups. Gordon is going to take Linda and Olivia and Cookie Monster in his yellow Volkswagen. Oscar and Maria and Telly and a honker are going in the sloppy jalopy, Oscar's car. And then the Count is just chilling by himself.
By himself in his monster mobile. Nobody wants to go with this guy.
And Bert and Ernie get an airplane.
Yeah. And the weird, okay, so this is when the movie starts to be like, what is happening here? So they have Super Grover on the map as well. And I guess I'll just know that Super Grover can actually fly.
Yeah.
And they know he's a superhero with the ability to fly. And that's where I was like, Gordon knows this. And it's just like, this is amazing.
Yeah. And like throughout, they'll check in too on the map and they'll be like, oh, look, everyone should be getting close to it. And I'm like, how do you know that?
That is that kid. Okay, so there's this kid who's tracking them all on the map, and he's moving Big Bird, and he's moving all of the guys. He's like moving their little suction cup representations. Is he a precog? Because he's perfect. Like, he knows where they are.
I think
he has powers too.
I think the implication is that they're calling back to check in, because at one point Maria mentions that she needs to call in, and we see her not be able to do that in that moment, so we don't actually ever see any of them call Sesame Street.
Okay.
But I think that one line is supposed to reference that they are calling in to check in.
Okay, that makes sense, because it really like cuts to this kid and he's like, they're getting close now. And it's like, what do you see that we don't see, kid? Why don't you just tell us where Big Bird is?
If you can see that much, just say, hey, he's here.
But really the fact that Super Grover is real, like he's not just in the skits.
Hadn't even considered that he can actually fly, but we see many examples of him actually flying throughout this film.
For days, it seems like. But I guess if your dumbest friend could fly, you might also just be like, that guy can fly, but it really doesn't come in handy very much.
Well, Big Bird is la-la-laing down the road and gets more and more tired and slow, and eventually he's like, la-la-la.
Which is the same thing that happens in Pee-wee's Playhouse. I mean, in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, there's a part where he's like skipping down the road and he's like, la, 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 and then it just cuts to him like, the same movie.
Well, instead of Large Marge, we have Big Bird meeting up with Waylon Jennings.
Which is equally scary at first, because he is a turkey farmer, and then Big Bird's like, I'm a turkey.
Yeah.
And then it's like, are you going to eat Big Bird? Because how, if you're a turkey farmer, are you going to pass that up?
Yeah. I'm going to make so much freaking money off this giant bird. Thankfully, no, Waylon Jennings is just a nice turkey farmer who's going to sing him a song called Ain't No Road Too Long.
It's also a good thing Big Bird didn't ask what was going to happen to all the turkeys in the back of the truck, huh?
Yeah, he did. Maybe he knew and was like, I don't, we can't talk about that. I just want to get safely to my destination.
Beggars can't be choosers. I just gotta make some distance.
During that song, Gordon and Olivia also get to sing in. Super Grover gets to sing. The Count sings along while he's counting telephone poles. Oscar's driving through the fields. Bert and Ernie are flying above. Overall, pretty good song. Not like in...
This is great. I think this is a great part of the movie.
Yeah.
I did not see everybody getting in wacky cars and driving around coming as like the main part of this movie.
But after the song, we get to see the Sleaze Brothers Fun Fair, again, where the F falls off the sign to say unfair. We learn quickly that they are unfair, because this is when they have a kid up on the Ferris wheel and they charge him to get brought down.
Another nickel to get down. These two are having so much fun, I feel like.
I think they're having too much fun.
I don't think so. I think they're great.
I think they said, script? What script? We've got our own ideas.
I think that's fine. I think that's just fine. Especially these two guys who work together forever, Yeah. Because they're both SCTV guys. I thought they were great.
I thought Joe Flaherty was a little one note for my liking.
Sure, yeah. But like when Dave Thomas takes the apple, he just like steals the apple out of the kid's lunchbox right in front of him and starts eating it. He's just so delightfully. And then it's so funny later when he's singing the nasty version of Big Bird's sad song.
Well, it's even the apple thing comes back and gets him in the end. He gets arrested for stealing an apple from a kid. But Waylon does drop off Big Bird in the middle of nowhere for some reason. And Big Bird sees a sign that says no through road and says, that must be it. Don't know why you'd think that, Big Bird.
There needed to be like a pun there or something.
Yes.
To me. I don't know.
Yes. Like, I don't know why he looks at No Through Road and goes, yep, that's the one.
Yeah, that was a weird part.
Thankfully, though, he does end up somewhere safe. He ends up on a farm because he hears some chickens clucking.
Again, not necessarily a safe place for him to go. And I was also nervous that, like, who's this guy?
But he comes from the world of Sesame Street where there are animals and everything just running around. So
he's not used to rural living.
No, not at all.
Where people are desperate to
city
eat all
bird.
animals they see. Yeah.
But thankfully, he meets two little nice farm kids who say, "You're the biggest chicken I've ever seen." And the kids end up making a nice nest for him to sleep in their barn.
You know who the girl is?
Yeah.
The clown from Big Comfy Couch.
She's Lunette, the clown on Big Comfy Couch. And the woman in the suit for Miss Finch is Cheryl Wagner, who creates Big Comfy Couch later on.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I didn't know that part.
Bird gave that little girl a show. But before Miss Finch and the little girl have their encounter, we do have Big Bird sing One Little Star, his sad lullaby song, where he's asking if stars get lonely up in the sky. And during this song, we again cut back through the whole Sesame Street gang to see what they're up to. And we go to a fireside where Gordon, Linda, and Olivia and Cookie Monster are camping out for the evening. Olivia singing the part of the song. Gordon and Linda...
Yes, there's something going on there,
They're real cuddled up by this fire.
Linda's like laying her head in Gordon's leg.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I suppose they're just friends. It's a children's movie.
Yeah, but it's a strong choice to have two adults laying on each other near a fire when Gordon's wife is back on Sesame Street.
Yeah.
It took me a second to be like, oh, right, they're not the couple in this scenario. Because Bob and Linda are also a couple. So, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Are they still at this point?
I have no idea. But I know at some points they are implied to be a couple. So, the fact that when Linda and Gordon leave Sesame Street, they're suddenly cuddled up by a fireside, I don't think Bob and Susan would be totally happy about that. This was one of the points where I was like, okay, like it feels like the threat is not there yet. Like we're getting into this movie. Miss Finch hasn't been around in a while. We're just seeing Big Bird being sad a lot. And so the threat doesn't seem to be here. And it's still even a little bit later after that until Miss Finch shows up. Because first we have to go to the Don't Drop In. It's a skeezy little motel restaurant where Oscar and Maria pull in. Oscar, of course, picked this place out. It's
because it specializes in Grouch cuisine.
Mm-hmm. Grouch's work there. Sandra Bernhard also works there as the waitress. It's just a place that serves really gross food like spaghetti with maple syrup, candied clams with French dressing, roast beef with butterscotch and anchovies.
You know who'd love all that food, though? Buddy the Elf.
Absolutely. I mean, especially the spaghetti with maple syrup. I think that's maybe literally what he eats.
That's his favorite food, I think, actually. Yeah.
That's where they got the idea.
Oh, no. I love this part. This part feels on the par to me with, like, Pee-wee and the biker bar. Like, weirdly similar, first of all, for a movie that came out a couple weeks later. Or a week or the same week. I can't remember. But, just a great... Or like the El Sleazo.
Yeah.
It made me think like the El Sleazo's got to be a Grouch bar. There's got to be Grouches there all the time.
But Maria hears that they have tossed salad and thinks that's safe to order.
But obviously everybody knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, they put it in a catapult and launch it at her face. The next morning on the farm, it's time to have an easy-going day, Sam. And this song fucking rules.
Yeah, this is a really good song. Too bad it's completely unimportant to the plot in any way.
I mean, to be fair, the last scene was also not important with the Grouch Diner.
But that's like a classic road movie scene. And I suppose this kind of is too. But like, there's not even a part where he's like, the people on the farm are really nice. Maybe I could go live with them.
No,
you know?
I feel like it's here for the joke of Big Bird saying, you know what, we're just going to take it super easy today. No stress, super chill. And then in the middle of that, Mrs. Finch is like, haha, I am here.
Yeah. Right.
I would like to hear maybe somebody like Wilco or the Decemberists do a cover of Easygoing Day. I think it would sound really good.
Yeah, you're right.
It just sounds like, I think out of all the songs in this movie, I don't know if that one's my favorite, but it sounds the most like a real song.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, it is a real song. And the others maybe are too much about Big Bird or being upside down.
Yeah, or they're just too sad to want to play it on the radio. So Miss Finch does show up to ruin the day. The kids cover for Big Bird. They get him to go hide in a hayfield, and they tell Miss Finch, "We ain't seen no bird." They cross their fingers, though, as they're lying to Miss Finch, so that's okay. They get away with it.
Yeah, this movie does have a few like looser morals than your average episode of Sesame Street.
Yeah, I'd say so. Lie to authorities.
It's great to run away from home.
It's okay to jump off of a moving truck as long as an adult says to.
Yeah. Yeah, that part was fun.
Before we get to that, we get Big Bird escaping, carrying the hay bale on his head with his little legs peeking out. The Sleaze brothers are driving by conveniently during this point, and they see the running haystack, but they go, "We're not looking for a haystack. We're looking for a bird."
Then something so fucking weird happens.
Oh, yeah. At this point, there's only 40 minutes left in this movie again. The Sleaze brothers, completely inconsequential, don't really have a plan, just kind of driving around hoping they run into a giant bird. Just remember that for later.
Well, that's what Doc Hopper's doing kind of too, isn't it?
But they've had a run-in at that point. Doc Hopper has met Kermit, sees Kermit, and goes, "I am going to hunt down, kill that frog, or turn him into my mascot. Only options."
He didn't see Kermit on national news and say, "Somewhere in this country, there is Big Bird, and I will find him."
Well, he feels like a threat. Like, he keeps catching up to Kermit, and they have to keep escaping him. Like, Big Bird doesn't even know the Sleaze brothers exist. But yes, next, we get to meet Obi-Wan Snuffleupagus.
Snuffy's Force Ghost appears.
Snuffy appears as a vision to Big Bird. But not really, because this is only in Big Bird's imagination. Snuffy does not know this is happening.
It seems so on the edge of Snuffy knows it's happening. It's like, is this a power that Snuffy has always had?
At the end of the movie, too, Big Bird's like, "Oh, you're real," when he sees Snuffy, which Snuffy's like, "Yeah, dude, we've been through this. Everyone else thinks I'm fake. You've always known I'm real."
Yeah. But, like, Snuffy gives such good advice. It's like, it's not like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like he's imagining him being there. It feels like he actually is there.
Right. Yeah, it feels like a Force ghost. You're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. But it just, it's very weird to take a character that everyone thinks is imaginary and to, for one scene, make him imaginary.
And it's weird at the end when he's like, "I guess I have to go now." Because that's like, what are you you're astral projecting, dude. Why would you have to go? Why couldn't Big Bird just imagine you with him the whole time?
Well, and he says...
There's something else afoot.
Yeah, he tells Snuffy he misses hugging him. And they're like, "We can imagine we can hug." And they just keep running through each other as they try to hug. But then a plane flies really low overhead. And I wrote down, well, I'm expecting a North by Northwest reference. And boy, do we get it. Because Big Bird thinks that Miss Finch must be in the airplane hunting him down. But really, it's Bert and Ernie who are hunting him down.
Yeah, because Ernie's like, "Buzz him. We'll get his attention."
Yeah, Bert spots him and they're like, "Well, we have to let him know it's us." And it's like, "Okay, let's fly upside down towards Big Bird.
Let's go crazy."
And then we get what I think is the easiest to cut scene of this film. I don't dislike it in any way, but boy, does it slow down the plot of this movie. Because you have Big Bird on the run, missing Snuffy, running away from the Sleaze brothers and the haystack and all this stuff. Suddenly there's a plane he thinks is Miss Finch. He's running away again. And it's like, what if we stopped for a couple minutes and let Bert and Ernie just sing about being upside down?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's a fun song, and I do think it's worth it because at the end, they're like, "Oh, we lost him." And then Ernie's like, "You lost him when you were singing too much, Bert." And Bert's like, "What the fuck, dude? You started singing."
At one point when they're flying around, Bert goes, "Ernie, I don't feel so good." And without a pause, Ernie just goes, "Wee!"
Yeah, it's good because it's always fun to see Frank and Jim being together, and it's a strong Bert and Ernie movie.
Yeah, which is odd because they're not that important. I don't know how they filmed all the wide shots because there's shots of a real plane in the air with Bert and Ernie in those cockpits.
With two little puppet heads poking out of it, and it's terrifying.
And apparently for the closer up shots where they're not actually flying, they put an upside down plane like 18 feet in the air and had Jim and Frank actually like puppeteering their arms upside down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like, I don't think that they would have had to be upside down themselves, but their arms would have been like down at an awkward angle to puppeteer. And Bert loses his bottle cap collection during this and falls on Big Bird, who thinks it's a
He brought
hailstorm.
several hundred bottle caps with him.
It's
on the
so
plane,
sad.
Which is good.
They're flying upside down, and all of a sudden they just start pouring out of him. And he's like, my bottle cap collection. But then Super Grover, still on the trail, flies into Gordon's yellow Volkswagen because he thinks it's Big Bird because it's big and yellow.
And he is able to fly into it because another running joke is that Cookie Monster's slowly eating their entire car as they're driving, which is so perfect. That's such a great gag. Probably my favorite gag in the whole movie.
Cookie Monster doesn't have much to do in this film other than eat a car, but he uses his time wisely.
He really does.
My favorite is during that moment earlier when they're at the campfire when Olivia's singing the sad song to Big Bird. Cookie Monster's like sitting there with his like hand on his head on his like hand, just like thoughtfully watching Olivia. Like, yes, I understand. I should be calm in this moment.
He's capable of introspection every now and then.
But the Sleaze brothers finally spot Big Bird. Got a big net. Drive at him. He ducks, of course, at just the right time. Mm-hmm. One nice moment I picked out in this is the Sleaze brothers have some dice hanging from their rearview mirror, but they're just drawn on dice on like a piece of construction paper. They're not actual even dice, so like all they can afford is like fake hand-drawn dice.
That rules.
But then Oscar and Maria drive into a junkyard for a scene that doesn't really matter at all and doesn't go anywhere.
No.
Apparently, though, in the original script, this is because their tire went flat. And they pull over because Maria needs to change the tire. And in doing so, she gets all grubby and dirty. And then Oscar falls in love with her and sings her a love song.
Oh, no way, really?
Yeah, that's what was originally going to happen. Is he's like, whoa, who is this hot babe?
You're actually a babe the whole time. He does say when they're in the junkyard, an angry face in a beautiful place. And I was like, I relate to that so deeply. Because I am deeply in love with Maria also. Yeah. And also, when she's yelling at people, I'm most like, yeah, will you marry me? But also, I like the running gag. I think they must ADR in a reason for this to happen because there are like, she's like, Oscar's getting them lost on purpose, which is also funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they definitely covered some of it in editing, but it was, I like that original idea for an Oscar love song, which again would have slowed down the plot tremendously. I understand why it's not there.
Worth it in this case.
Yeah, replace the Bert and Ernie song with an Oscar love song to Maria. Although maybe that raises too many questions of like, how are you going to unpack that later?
Yeah, when you get back, things are a little awkward. A lot of things happened on the road that people at Sesame Street ain't going to talk about.
Yeah. Gordon and Linda had their thing. Oscar and Maria had their thing. Throughout this movie, though, they've been talking about the town of Toadstool, which is somehow they figured out the town where everyone will converge. Basically saying that, like, if you don't find Big Bird by this point, you'll meet up with him in Toadstool.
All roads lead to Toadstool, basically.
But they finally get there. This is the one part where Luis gets a line. He talks to the kid who's mapping out the future.
The precog child.
And says, everyone's getting closer to Toadstool. And that's when you're like, is everyone calling to check in? What's happening here? Because there's no answers.
This child's psychic.
But Big Bird makes it to Toadstool, which is the Mushroom City, which makes sense. And they're having their annual tournament of Mushroom Parade.
Yeah. Something that feels like it's going to end in some kind of big joke, which does not.
Another thing from the original script is it was supposed to be like Rock City. And there was supposed to be like a rock concert they wanted a famous rock band to be playing it at the gravel pit and all this stuff. So there's going to be a bunch of rock puns instead of mushroom puns.
Okay.
But
I suppose.
I don't know why they swapped out rocks for mushrooms.
They couldn't get any rock band to be in this movie?
Maybe it wasn't cool enough.
They probably wanted the Rolling Stones, though, I bet.
Oh, that would be so good.
They did. Yeah.
But yeah, they probably couldn't get them. Although, Jim, you could just talk to your friend David Bowie.
Go down to Live Aid.
Yeah. Hey, I know we have this satellite feed to interact with.
That's why it didn't work, because Jim was using it to talk to.
He kept interrupting. Oh, hey, Mick.
Do you want to be in my movie? Sir, will you please keep it down out there? We're trying to do it. It'll be really fun. Okay, well, bye. Make it about mushrooms, I guess.
Big Bird starts to hide amongst the marching band. And this is one of the scenes where I'm like, wow, this movie's action scenes are kind of not great.
I really zoned out during this part.
Yeah. the action scenes in particular, I feel like, I don't know if it's a directing thing or if it's a writing thing, of they were just like, and then something happens. Because they just go on for so long without anything really interesting happening around Big Bird. The threats don't feel that real. It doesn't feel, I don't know, it doesn't feel well paced. It feels like, I was just watching Great Santa Claus Switch this past weekend, and there's so many scenes in that where they just like put the bad guys and good guys like confront each other in a big wide room. And then everyone just kind of runs around and makes a lot of noise for 5 minutes. And this kind of feels like that. They're like,
it's hard with puppets.
yeah. And so this feels like, okay, we're going to have Big Bird hide in the parade. What then? Like, what happens then? I don't know. Just keep having him hide in the parade.
It feels like maybe they were really depending on John Landis to direct the movie. And they were like, he's done car chases and car crashes and made an interesting action scene. So we'll just leave this blank and he can tell us what to do.
Save us, John Landis. You're our only hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fortunately, Big Bird ends up escaping, but unfortunately walks right up to the Sleaze Brothers fair and asks for a place to hide. And they say, hey, we've got a big hiding cage.
You can hide in our hiding cage. Great.
But everyone else has made it to Toadstool. The Count, Maria, Oscar, Gordon, Olivia, they're all there now. And the Sleaze Brothers realize, well, everyone's going to be looking for an 8-foot yellow bird. And so they decide to paint him blue and make him the blue bird of happiness.
Really had a devastating impact on me for some reason. It was so sad to see him the wrong color.
I think you're not alone. I think this is the defining image of this movie for a lot of people. And the like, obviously what comes next is the saddest song in the world. So I think this is what really, like what most people remember about this movie is sad blue Big Bird.
What if it was sad blue Big Bird with the blue jeans on from that one picture?
Well, he's just all blue, like Canadian tuxedo kind of thing.
Yeah, he'd look cool.
But during this sad, sad song, Sid or Sam, whichever Sleaze brother is Joe Flaherty.
I think it's Sid because I remember being sad that the eviler one was named Sam.
But he's the smarter one.
He is the smarter one. And I thought that because it seems like, so Sid's crying and it seems like he's going to have a change of heart, but he doesn't.
No. He's just sad because there's a sad song and an entire crowd of children also getting extremely sad.
And what the fuck is going on with the fact that they're all twins?
They're not all twins.
But a lot of them are.
There's 3 sets of twins in a row that they pan across to be like, look at them. Look at the twins.
Why? Though?
I don't know, Sam. It's so freaking weird.
It's so weird.
Yeah, no, it's bizarre. It's just basically makes the kids so sad that 2 of them decide to go check on Big Bird. And he's, again, the saddest he's ever been. And he cries a single tear and tells him he really wants out.
He cries like a big diamond.
It's very sparkly.
He's previously cried a big blob of mercury. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And now he's crying a big diamond. Big Bird's like the goose that lay a golden egg, but he's the bird who cries precious metals.
Or he's just got a lot of blue paint in his tear ducts.
Ugh, and it's crystallizing as it rolls down his cheek. Poor guy.
It's poison actually pouring out of him.
So they made a blue Big Bird?
Oh yeah, that's not just the lighting because we see him in the next day in the daylight and he's very blue.
The concept of it, like if somebody told me you have to make a blue Big Bird for this movie, I'd be like, that seems like such a waste of energy, but okay.
But remember, they're also having to replace and fix the Big Bird costume multiple times throughout the year. So it's not like they've had one Big Bird this entire time that they've been keeping up and somebody's like, suddenly somebody's like, hey, make another one. And they're like, fuck you. This is like, they've been making Big Birds. They continue to make Big Birds and they just decide to make one of them blue.
Sure. Okay. I guess that's fair.
But Sam, the smart one, yells at them. The kids run away, but Big Bird was able to tell them to call Mr. Hooper's store or Sesame Street, which clearly they get to do. We don't see them get through to Sesame Street, but they ask the operator for Sesame Street, and they apparently get through to tell Bob what's going on, because Bob is able to tell Maria where Big Bird is once she calls to check in on everything. And I love that the kids solved this entire movie.
Very easily, yeah.
Like, this entire movie is solved by 2 random children.
Yeah, who recognize the injustice of Big Bird being locked in that cage. He's just so moving that they have no choice but to do some activism and get him out of there.
And the sort of the main climactic scene in this movie was another one where I'm like, maybe John Landis would have had ideas for this
better.
And this is not the fault of Ken Kwapis. I think like you give this movie to Ken Kwapis now, he has a lot more experience under his belt. maybe there's some more happening. But in this version, it's just the Sesame Street gang sneaking into a tent quietly as if it's a heist, but not doing a good heist, as they're going to steal the keys.
Not even not good, just not interesting.
Right. But Big Bird's in the cage. They're going to steal the keys from Sam's hand as he's sleeping. Sid's nearby, sleeping on a box of cookies.
Did that ever come up?
Big Bird, Cookie Monster does snag the cookies at one point, and it's very loud, but nobody wakes up.
That's what. Okay, that's because that seems like what's going to happen is that because he's back there in the background looking at the cookies, like trying to reach towards them and trying to stop himself from being obsessed with these cookies. But then it doesn't end up being anything.
Yeah. So throughout this, we get the Count and Telly are like holding each other as they nervously watch on, which is kind of sweet, but also kind of odd based on the scene doesn't really seem like it should have that much serious weight to it. And I think they're trying to add the serious weight of it with like them looking so concerned. But yes, it almost gets ruined multiple times because the Count almost ruins it. When they get the keys, he says, one key. And they're like, hey, quiet down. But nobody wakes up. Then Grover is going to try and ruin it now because he is like, oh, this looks like a job for Super Grover. And it's like, oh, God,
It's never a job.
It's never
for
a job.
Super Grover.
But then, yes, Cookie Monster also loudly grabs the cookies from Sid and nothing happens. So there's like all these chances for them to wake up and they don't. But it's not until they get to the very last key with Maria that Sam wakes up. And instead of yelling, hey, get away from that giant bird, he motions quietly to Sid. Hey, let's sneak for some reason.
Into our truck and drive it away.
Yes.
What?
It's very odd.
And the concept of the Sesame Street gang doing a heist and being so stupid is fun. But they just kind of blew it.
But I don't feel like Maria should be the stupid one.
No.
If like for some
true.
reason the humans were sidelined and like Telly, the Count, and Grover had to go in there and do a heist.
Had to be like, we must be serious for once in our lives. This is going to be the hardest thing we've ever done.
Right. Like it took Maria 25 minutes to get through all those keys. And there was like 6 keys.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why that didn't work out.
Count could have just snapped both their necks, you know?
But now they're on the run because the truck is taking off with Big Bird. Gordon says to Olivia, follow that bird.
Yep.
And makes her drive because he has an idea. Because he went into the future and saw Fast and the Furious.
This part is kind of cool.
And so Gordon gets in the front of the car because Volkswagens have a trunk in the front, not an engine.
And Cookie Monster has eaten the hood off of it.
There's no more hood. So he's standing in the open, the frunk, and is trying to get Big Bird to jump off of the moving truck into the moving Volkswagen where Gordon is just standing there to catch him.
And it rules. And it's funny that Big Bird's like, I'm not allowed to do that.
He says to Gordon, you should never jump from a moving truck. I shouldn't even be standing up right now. But Gordon says...
Just when there's those little moments of the educational show with the real world bumping into each other, I think that's something they could have used for the heist. Like there could have been something from one of the skits that they adapted into the heist,
right.
Or just like that could have been a Sesame Street skit in itself somehow.
Yeah, there could have even been like the numbers on the keys were important for some reason and they had to do some quick math or something.
Yeah.
But no, I do like when it ekes in like this because Gordon says, you have my permission. And Big Bird's like, oh, okay. An adult said it's okay. I can jump off of a moving truck. And he actually jumps while the cars are moving.
And you see it and everything. And it's like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They did.
Was it, do you think it was Carol
Spinney
in there?
I don't know. I didn't pay enough attention to see if it was actually Gordon or if it was a stunt double. So I don't know.
I feel like Carol would want to do it, don't you think?
Yeah, but that feels like the most dangerous thing you could possibly do.
Even if he didn't do it, I mean, though, he would have said, can I please do that? I've roller skated. I've ice skated. I just need to feel something.
Yeah, I need a bigger thrill. He's like searching for that Big Bird adrenaline. Well, that's kind of where that plotline wraps up. And so we cut back to the Sleaze brothers who are driving their car, don't realize the bird has really escaped, but they get pulled over by a motorcycle cop who has a small child with him. And it's John Candy, who I looked up was in this movie. I was excited by that, but by this point, I had definitely forgotten he was supposed to be in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
So when he showed up, I was like, oh, hey, good to see you. Maybe you should have been a sleaze brother or something. I wish you were in more of this movie.
Yeah, but he gets a very funny moment because he has the kid with him and they're standing at the window of the car and he lifts the kid up by the scruff of his neck to show him through the window. He's like, yeah, that's them. And he puts him back down. I love that.
Yeah, it's a good moment. I just wish, like, I just watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles the other day, which is such a good movie, and John Candy's amazing in it. And so the more John Candy in my life, the better.
And I love that they arrest him for stealing the apple from the kid because that's the kid who's with him.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, we was just holding it for a friend. Great. I love the Sleeves Brothers.
I don't love them. I like where that ends up. I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like the writing for their scenes existed or was very good, whichever one is true. But at the end, Big Bird gets home, and all the Muppets and all these weird humans we've never seen before are celebrating. We very briefly see Elmo poke his head out of a window. You'll see a lot of trivia and articles about like this sort of being the first time Elmo appeared as a character.
Yeah.
Not true at all.
They have called him Elmo before.
Yes,
even
he is
at this
already
point.
named Elmo at this point. He is just not a main character. So yeah, if you see that on a trivia list, which I saw multiple times, and just when you think you're safe, Miss Finch returns. Did you forget about her? Me too. But thankfully, Maria and all these random adults who are standing around get to talk to Miss Finch and explain, we are his family. And they convince Miss Finch that Big Bird should stay on Sesame Street. And that works. And Gordon brings the car home in pieces. Susan is quite upset.
Grover steering it, which I think was like a fun, I don't know, that tickled me for some reason. They're pushing it and Grover's like, and he's equally exasperated.
Yeah, it seems like Grover and Cookie Monster both become way more adult once they're alone out on the road.
Yeah.
Like they become the 40-year-old men who are performing.
The further away you get from Sesame Street, its spell weakens and you become normal.
Yeah, there's just
again.
a magic spell on Sesame Street that makes everyone 4 years old.
And forget everything every time that they learn it. I like when they tell Miss Finch that he should stay on Sesame Street and she's like, well, I've done it again.
Susan seems quite upset with Gordon that the car is destroyed by Cookie Monster. Little does
That's a big investment, you know? It's a big investment.
Yeah. Little does she know, there might be something more to be angry about.
There's more to be mad about, yeah. Oh, no.
And so the movie ends with Bruno the trash man walking through the scene with Oscar, who's just like, hey, yeah, walk me over there. Away from all these people so we can cut away.
Does Bruno usually talk? I guess he must. I was just surprised to see him talk.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of work for Carol Spinney here, who obviously has been doing a lot of work throughout this entire movie.
Yeah.
But the last little thing we see is a little grouch dog barking at them, which is really cute.
I liked that guy, yeah. This is when I thought, this version of New York City is infested to the gills with Muppet monsters.
Yes.
It's gotta be. You got little Rizzo the Rats poking out of the sewers going, hey, what's up? Give me a quarter.
And you know, because this is a movie in the 80s, you might assume there's no fun credits, there's no after credits scene, but you'd be wrong, folks. Because right at the gate, the Count shows up and he's like, oh, this is my favorite part.
This is my favorite
the credits. I'm going to read and count all of these things. And so he starts off and he's like, directed by one credit. And you're like, all right. And then he gets to like, supervising film editor. And you're like, okay, how many of these is he going to do?
He's going to do it.
And so then he gets to Joan Gans Cooney, who many of us know, helped create Sesame Street. And he says, one Joan Gans Cooney. Hi, Mom.
Weird.
Yeah.
And cute.
Very cute. Very weird.
Yeah.
To think that she is the mother of all of these Sesame Street Muppets.
Of the Count specifically. Nobody wants to take credit for that.
But that is the last one he actually counts out loud and says, that's 10 fantastic credits. But don't worry, he comes back at the very, very end of the credits and says, 278 incredible, colossal credits. Which I'm just going to trust him and not go back and count and verify. But overall, Sam, I will say, I did enjoy Follow That Bird. I don't know that it has the same rewatchability for me as other Muppet movies.
I think I'd rather rewatch it than Great Muppets Take Manhattan, personally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it ranks above. I feel it just is so close to being one of the great Muppet movies, I think. I was not ready for it to look so good.
It
and like
looks
when Rachel
great.
walked in and she was like, "Whoa, this movie looks great." I was like, "Yeah, I don't know how they did this, but it looks beautiful." And I wasn't expecting moments of it to be so funny. And I think I do have a lot of I love Pee-wee's Big Adventure, so I think a lot of that goodwill carries over to this movie because they feel like companion pieces in a way somehow, like just so weirdly brother and sister movies. But I don't know. I think it's just so close to being great, and I do think it has a lot to offer that it makes me feel like it's a little underappreciated, in my opinion.
I will say, yeah, I think we are not, the only ones who have watched this movie. Like, there are a lot of people in the Muppet fandom who have watched this movie, who love this movie. But I do think it's not one that I hear talked about very often.
Yeah.
And so I do think if you have not seen Follow That Bird, it is definitely worth watching.
Yeah, like Rachel, I said, "Oh, yes, this is a Sesame Street movie they made in the 80s," and she's like, "I didn't even know there was a Sesame Street movie."
Yeah,
weird.
And apparently, we're never getting the other one that they were planning on making with Bo Burnham. So,
well, there's Elmo and Grouchland.
Well, yes, but we were supposed to get one like a few years ago that was going to be written, like the songs in the script were going to be written by Bo Burnham, which sounds amazing.
Yeah,
but as far as I know, is dead in the water. So yeah, that is Follow That Bird. We were looking forward to it for a long time. We both enjoyed it to differing levels, but I thought it was.
I just love the Sesame Street guys so much. They're so cute and innocent, and
yeah, I love a lot of the moments in this movie a lot. Some of these moments are some of my favorite moments of Cookie Monster, of Grover, or whatever. I think just overall as a package, it didn't entirely work for me.
You're not as big a Joe Flaherty super fan as I am either.
So, Sam, before we get out of here, I want to check in and see if you've had time to enjoy any non-Muppet things this week.
I did. We went to see Killers of the Flower Moon.
Ooh.
I won't get into it too much, but it made me cry like a baby.
Wow.
I was. The last scene of that movie is just so like... I mean, the whole thing is great. And just brutal. A brutal movie. But very worth seeing. And Lily Gladstone is so freaking good.
Yeah, local Missoula celebrity.
Yeah,
Lily
person who has
Gladstone.
been in our office multiple times and hosted stuff that we're kind of indirectly related to.
Person, at least I have met briefly at our Complexly office. And
friend of many friends of ours.
Yes.
Not to brag, but
yes, we are not directly friends with Lily Gladstone, but many of our very good friends are very good friends with her. And so there's like this very weird, like, when it was announced that she was cast as a starring role in a Scorsese movie, we're all like, what the hell? This is amazing.
Man, she's got just as much time in it as Leonardo DiCaprio, basically.
Yeah, everything I have not seen it yet, but everything I've seen about her has been nothing but praise.
And then we went to see The Marvels last night.
Oh, how was that?
Not on the flip side. I actually really liked it. I feel really sad that it is not doing well.
Yeah.
Because it feels like Ant-Man did really badly. They panicked and they cut as much weird stuff out of this one as they could to try to make it as normal a Marvel movie as possible. Because reading about it, there's like a subplot where Carol and the main villain lady had like a relationship with each other, and that is not present in the movie in any capacity. There's like a part where they go to a planet where everybody sings. That's the only way they can talk, and apparently that was like a whole entire third of the movie basically. But in this, it's very quickly glossed over.
Oh.
So there is a cut of this movie that is far weirder,
right?
and
Which
more fun.
Quantum Mania probably scared them off.
Yeah, it just feels like the studio was like, ugh, we can't make... Like, this is already a risk because it's like two characters from a TV show and a character that has a lot of sexist heat around her. We can't make a weird one. But they should have made a weird one because the three leads are so fun and the bad guy is really cool. She just is cut out of most of the movie. But it's a fun space one. I love when they go to space in Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And... it wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. It was a perfectly middle tier Marvel movie. And has a crazy end credit thing. I don't know if you know anything about it.
I haven't looked into it at all.
But when it happened, me and Rachel were like, what? And they should just be like, you got to see this. Even if you don't like the new Marvel movies, you got to see what happens at the end of this one.
Interesting.
How about you?
Well, I watched that Hannah Waddingham Christmas special, which has no Muppets.
Oh, yes.
but I also been playing a lot of that game Teardown, which I think last time I told you I had just bought but hadn't played yet. It's a lot of fun if you like just destroying shit in video games.
When I was watching Follow That Bird, I got ads for Teardown, and I was like, what the hell? Did they hear
Wild,
Matt
yeah.
say it on Google? What the fuck's happening here?
That's wild. Yeah, no, it's fun. There are some very, like... It's more frustrating at times than I realized it was going to be. Some of the puzzles get, like, very frustrating, where essentially a lot of the puzzles are... There's, like, 6 things scattered throughout a map that you have to get back to your truck. And the moment you pick one of them up, you have 60 seconds to get to your truck because an alarm goes off. And so you have to figure out how to collect the like right amount of things in the right order and get back to your truck within a minute. And oftentimes that means like, okay, planning out your route very thoroughly, smashing down buildings that are going to be in your way, putting a car in the right position. You're essentially doing like a heist that like...
You're making like a mousetrap.
Essentially, well, a little bit of a mousetrap, but also like there's ways to do that with bombs and stuff at certain points. But for the most part, early on in the game, you're really just trying to like run fast from one spot to the next using boats, cars, etc. And there are clever ways to get around things, but there are times where it just gets a little too frustrating for me personally.
Sure.
And thankfully, some of the other missions change things up a bit, where instead of a timer, you have this thing where you go to steal some art, and the stealing the art doesn't set off the alarms, but it's during a thunderstorm, and lightning keeps striking the buildings you're in, and they catch on fire, and you have an extinguisher where you can put out the fire, because if you don't put out the fire alarm goes off, and then people come and find you. So you're going around trying to steal things while things keep catching on fire, and you're trying to put out fires and then go steal more art while this is all happening.
That seems like an unlikely scenario.
Very unlikely. There's a lot of lightning strikes starting a lot of fires in this small seaside town.
Maybe you should just say, I'm not going to steal the art today. I'll steal your art tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave, let this town burn down, and I'll come back and see if the art is still here when the town is done. And before we go, we want to let you know what we'll be watching next time, because next time we're moving into the fall of 1985 as we take a slight detour away from the Muppets and into the world of creatures by watching the very first film that the Creature Shop worked on outside of the Henson Company.
Oh, okay.
And that is a little movie called Dream Child, which is a semi-realistic autobiographical thing about the creation of Alice in Wonderland.
I feel like you've told me that before, but I didn't realize that was what it was about.
I've never heard anyone talk about this movie before, like in any context, so I have no idea if it's good, terrible, boring, who knows. But there are Muppets, creatures in this movie of like the Mad Hatter, the March Hare, all that stuff that are performed by Muppet performers. So, you know, it feels like it's worth a watch just for this weird little time frame of the first Creature Shop movie. So,
and they look so scary.
Of course they do. But you can watch that for free on Plex, or you can rent or buy it on Amazon streaming. Although in checking it out, the version on Plex looks good. It's widescreen. It seems HD. Whereas the version you can buy and rent on Amazon is a full screen version that looks like it was taped off of a VHS. So watch it for free on Plex, I guess. And we also need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to commitment.com if you want to listen to some episodes, buy some merch, see our faces, join our Patreon, all that jazz. You can also email us at mail@commitment.com if you just want to reach out and say hey. Or you can follow this podcast everywhere on social media at CommitmentPod, where we usually post links to where you can watch the things that we are watching. And you can follow me on the internet at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.